Rolling.
Buddy Whisker licking. Look at all your dirt and fluff everywhere. Weirdo.
Should I stare at the camera the entire time? Like
It's more. Let's start over again.
What is art, right?
And like Sanrio characters like Hello Kitty. Like I just love it. Next one. Hold on this button.
First time I started drawing was at a very young age, man. I can't even remember the first time I started drawing.
But yeah, before that, when I was growing up, I drew a lot and just kind of let it go throughout my teenage years. But just got kind of re-inspired to do that kind of thing.
I can actually remember. I actually have that memory, and that memory is actually up on a wall somewhere.
I always wanted to be a cartoonist growing up. I mean, I used to draw Peanuts when I was a kid, just drawing Snoopy and that sort of thing, and then I would come up with my own cartoon characters.
I was kind of like the guy that would draw in class, always.
But I remember there was a science book at my family's house, and I would just be drawing like planets and a bunch of things. And I remember somebody say, "Oh, that looks cute." But imagine when he actually grow up and starts actually drawing. And I remember as a kid, kind of like, "Oh, I thought that was pretty good." But then I have to start practicing more and over and the drawing to the point that I felt that was quite good. And I'm pretty sure I drew something else when I was younger than that, but that's the first one I can remember.
one of the memories that stands out to me the most was sitting in my bedroom. I had to have been maybe 2 or 3, and I had access to paper, and I did nothing but draw balloons. I was obsessed with balloons. I loved balloons, all kinds of balloons.
I just had like ideas and stuff, and wanted to do some creative things, but didn't really want to get involved in music. I played music, but I just didn't want to get too into that. But, just being around comics so much, just decided to try and explore that and develop those skills and stuff. So.
Yeah, I mean, growing up, people were like, yeah, if you want to get the chicks, you gotta be like a musician or a rock star, and it's like, that's kind of like old news, like, that's kind of dying down. I was like, if you really want to get the serious chicks, you gotta be an artist.
But the first time that I really figured out what I wanted to do, I was playing this game with my grandma. It was called Old Maid. And there was this card of an artist, and he had, the French hat and the mustache and the canvas and stuff. And I was like, I want to be that guy.
When I was about 21 or 22, I really got into it and just kind of started doing it, pretty intensely from there for quite a while. 10 or so years.
I can actually remember the very first thing that I tried to draw, and it was a cartoon, and it was Mickey Mouse, and I accidentally reversed his things like on his face, but that little tiny cartoon that I drew when I was probably like 5 or something, I wasn't very old, it's still hanging up on my aunt's wall in her house to this day.
Even in my first comic book, there's this cartoon character that I thought up when I was in elementary school. He was this monkey. I don't really remember what his original name was, but he has a name in the comic book, and he's basically my character, but older and more disgruntled. Well, originally he wasn't supposed to be me, but later he became an aspect of myself.
The funny thing is that I used to do that in school, and I never put thought on that when I was a kid, but I was drawing, and that's how I communicated my feelings, and I still do it in many ways in my life.
I remember drawing all sorts of balloons and all these pictures and then taping them up all through my room. And I remember my parents came into my room one time, and I had balloon pictures in all 4 corners and working on some of the ceiling, and I think they were kind of creeped out at the time, or maybe no, but they definitely knew that I liked to draw and I really liked balloons. But that was my youngest memory of drawing.
You gotta draw, because then it's like, oh hey, I'm trying to, you know, get better at drawing the human figure. Would you mind coming over to my house and taking off your clothes, letting me draw like nothing, you know, just, you know, I just need a new model, you know, and you got it going on. I mean, not that I'm interested, just purely like artistically. And then of course they come over and it's, you know, I never end up drawing, you know, they just kind of.
That's the guy that I want to be when I grow up. So she took it seriously, and she, for Christmas, she bought me this book called How to Draw the Marvel Way. It's a completely cliche book, but it's amazing. It's got a lot of great tips in it. I just spent hours looking at that thing, and by the time I got into college, I wanted to be a graphic designer, but my college professor told me I should do comics. And still, I was like, what the fuck does he know about anything? And look what I'm doing now. I'm drawing comics.
First things I ever started drawing were Mickey Mouse and Garfield. I drew a lot of Garfield and like Sanrio characters like Hello Kitty.